In the spring of 1999, Hong Kong was the scene of the infamous Hello Kitty murder case. A nightclub hostess from Citrus Road, Lai Yu Estate, was abducted and tortured in a Tsim Sha Tsui apartment after stealing a customer's wallet. On the morning of April 15, 1999, Fan Man-yee died after being held captive by 3 males and a female for the previous day. In addition, the Hello Kitty murder takes its name from the fact that the victim's head was dismembered and placed inside a Hello Kitty plush toy. Thus, keep watching to find out the full story of this disturbing murder case. Fan Man-yee, who was born in 1975, was left by her family when she was a youngster, which led to her being reared in an orphanage that was only for females. As she reached the age of 15, she was informed that she needed to leave the orphanage since they had a maximum age requirement. After losing her home and developing a heroin addiction, Fan was forced to engage in prostitution on the streets until she was 21, at which point she started working in a brothel. Thus, Fan ultimately married one of her customers, a fellow drug addict by the name of Chi-yen, in the year 1996. 2 years later, in November 1998, she gave birth to their son, which was only a short time before she was murdered. It was said that Fan's husband was violent, and their neighbors said that they were often kept awake by the sounds of the couple arguing, as well as the kids sobbing and shrieking in the flat where they lived. After discovering she was pregnant with her first child and then giving birth to her son, Fan made the conscious decision to alter her life in order to safeguard her child and make life easier for him. She gave up drugs and prostitution, found work as a hostess in a brothel, and finally left her abusive husband just before she was murdered in a cruel way. However, she had a significantly smaller income as a result of these sacrifices, and it was difficult for her to provide for both herself and her kid. One of Fan's frequent customers at the brothel was Chan Man-luk, who was a member of the Wo Shing Wo triad and was 34 years old. Chan Man-luk had a history of being charged with narcotics trafficking, and he was not a good man. Therefore, everything changed around the beginning of 1999, when one night Fan stole Chan's wallet, which had about 4,000 Hong Kong dollars inside of it. When Chan found out what had occurred, he ordered Fan to return the money in addition to paying a fine of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. Even though Fan was quick to return the money that had been taken, she needed further time in order to pay the additional cost. However, Fan was kidnapped on March 17, 1999, from her HDB home in Block 90 Citrus Road, Fuyu area of Lai Yu Estate, and the suspects were Chan, his grooming victim Lau Ming Fong, Long Wei Long, and Long Xing Chao. Also, Chan was the mastermind behind the kidnapping. The gang kidnapped Fan and transported her to an apartment located at number 31 Granville Road in Tsim Sha Tsui. There, they held her captive for the next 30 days. At first, Chan's plan was to exploit Fan by selling her to several different men in order to make a profit off of her. However, this was only the beginning of a horrifying ordeal. Throughout the time that she was held captive, she was subjected to sexual assault and torture. She was beaten with metal rods, sometimes while being strung up and used as a punching bag. In addition, Fan was kicked in the head close to 50 times during one particular incident. Also, Fan had spices rubbed into her wounds, her legs and feet were burned with candle wax and hot plastic, specifically so that she couldn't walk. She was forced to consume human feces and urine, and she was forced to smile and say that she enjoyed the beatings. If she refused, they subjected her to even harsher forms of torture. Because of this so-called brutal torture by Chan and his gang, Fan finally went into a severe shock and later passed away on April 14th or 15th, 1999. According to some accounts, she passed away while her captors were absent, while others maintain that she passed away sometime during the torture night. What is really disturbing is that her kidnappers chopped and cooked her remains and then stitched her head into a Hello Kitty doll while disposing of her body. After leading the Yau Ma Tai police to the place on May 24th, only her skull, one tooth, and some internal parts were retrieved in a plastic bag. In addition, when Chan was taken into custody, he was residing in an apartment in the Shekning neighborhood with his wife, Ah Pui, and their newborn child. Also, the other kidnapper, Se, was at first suspected of being implicated in the murder, but since the investigation turned up no proof, he was soon freed. And after learning that the murder was reported in the media, the kidnapper, Lung Wei Long, fled to mainland China, where he remained hidden until the 14th of February 2000, when he was apprehended by the authorities. Even though many people found the narrative to be so upsetting that they thought there was no way it could possibly be genuine, the evidence discovered by the police was damning and upsetting. The flat where Fan had been tortured was decked out in Hello Kitty paraphernalia, from linens and drapes to towels and cutlery. This included the bathroom as well. In addition, the body part trophies that had been removed from Fan were discovered inside, together with indications that all three males had dealt with them in some way. Due to the condition in which Fan's remaining body parts were found, the authorities and medical examiners were unable to ascertain the circumstances surrounding her death. There was no question that she had been subjected to unimaginable forms of torture, and that the three men were responsible for inflicting most of the damage to her body. Nevertheless, there was no way to determine whether an overdose of drugs or the torture was to blame for her condition. On December 7, 2000, after a trial that lasted for more than 6 weeks, the three men were found guilty of manslaughter. Fan's death was attributed to the mistreatment that she suffered at the hands of the men, even though the jury was unable to conclude that the defendants had the intentions of taking her life. Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness, said Judge Peter Nguyen, who handed down the sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole for the three defendants. According to the psychiatric assessments, the three killers lacked any sense of guilt. In addition, there would not be a review for parole for a period of 20 years, which would bring us to the year 2020. However, the life sentences that were handed down are being served at the moment at Stanley Prison. Fan's skull was the only exhibit in the case, but her biological family was told in March of 2004 that her skull will be returned and burned on March 26 after being stored by the forensic pathologist at the Kowloon Public Mortuary after the trial and continuing through the appeal procedure of the defendants. In addition, in September 2012, the apartment building where the crime took place was destroyed, and in 2016, it was rebuilt as a hotel that bears the name Saravit. And, as a kind of commemoration, the hotel was adorned with 3 different Buddha pictures. Also, it is important to be mentioned that the case received a lot of attention, which led to the development and distribution of movies that presented the tale of what happened. 2001 was the year that saw the release of both Human Pork Chop and There Is a Secret in My Soup. In April 2014, one of the killers, Long Shi-cho, was released after successfully appealing his sentence, which had been reduced from life in prison to 18 years. But 8 years later, in August 2022, Lung was caught once again and sentenced to another year in prison for sexually abusing a 10-year-old child. In other words, once a criminal, always a criminal. That concludes the chilling tale of the Hello Kitty murder. Please share your thoughts in the comments below about which aspect of the story disturbed you the most. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to stay updated on our future content. We'll see you in the next video.